folks. Welcome back to Carolina Conservatives. We are Preachers with a Punch. We are so thrilled to be able to join you with you again. We appreciate, by the way, all of the outpouring of support that we have been seeing from everyone, that you have liked us, that you are sending out our messages out to all of your friends and families. We want you to do that. Continue to do that. Make sure, especially those liberal uncles or aunts that you have, make sure that they listen to us. Tell them that we're, of like mind to them, that they need to listen to us, and then let them be shocked after that. So
make it fun at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it would be great. Put us on at Thanksgiving. Don't watch the Macy's Day Parade. Put on Carolina Conservatives. So we're glad to be joining with you. I'm Dr. Nathan Street.
I'm Pastor Alan Mashburn. Thank you for joining us. It's been a while since we had a podcast with just us. We've been doing some candidate interviews. We've been doing a lot of things. Dr. Street has been teaching his heart out down there and still treading on in the podcast world. I've been around the state just trying to paint this county, this state, this region red. And that's what we're trying to do, is flip some seats. Today we're going to deal with something that we're going to show a video first, and then we're going to go off into the realm of school violence. And of course, this is Dr. Street's wheelhouse, and he will have much to say on this. I'll certainly chime in, but first, I want you to see this video.
Oh, shit! Yo, chill out. Oh, shit! Yo, chill out.
All right, that's just horrendous. Dr. Street, carry us into this.
So you've got these children, and this is happening in Moore County. We've also seen one that's potentially was some threats that were occurring in Guilford County as well. And it makes you stop and wonder what is going on with children and threatening to kill one another now. I mean, they're jumping from, you insulted me in some form or fashion, and now I'm going to kill you. And these all-out brawls and fights in the schools. And I mean, I've seen videos too, Alan, of fights that are happening in some of the Guilford schools that are really horrendous fights that are just breaking out in the hallways. And, what's going on? What are we looking at here?
Well, let's start back at the Moore County incident. There's much going on that, and I want to tell our viewers and listeners, saying that we have reached out to the parent of this child who has been the victim in this violence, and we understand there's some legalities going on, and we want that to go full strength and full forward. We want to stand with this child and this parent. So they've been advised not to speak with us. We totally understand that. But here's the problem. And the left's going to say, yeah, I know this is where you religious zealots are going to take it, but here's where I'm taking it. When you take God out of schools and you have a godless mentality and a godless philosophy, you have nothing but chaos. And you open the door up for demonic activity when you introduce anything that is counter to God. And so we're reaping what we have sown. And the problem is that our children they're the victims in this. Mm-hmm. They have to put up with this. I'm to the point now, and I know I'm going to be running for something in the future, and this is going to come back to haunt me, but I'm going to stand on it. Parents, if you're able, if you have the means, you need to be homeschooling your children. You need to look at some other options.
Truth.
Because you need to get your children out of this garbage. You need to get your children out of this environment. Your children are yours. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to any other entity. They are yours. They are a gift from God. They are a heritage from God. They are your responsibility, and you must take them out of this type of environment. Now, not everyone is able to do that, but it doesn't negate the fact that we have to continue standing for our children. Yes, we need to revamp the whole system, but that's going to take some time if it's even possible. Yeah. But the point is, we must stand for the children no matter what and get them out of this type of environment.
Truth.
Parents, I would say you need to show up at school boards whether you have your children in or out, because you still have money. You still have a vested interest going into this. And we still must stand for all the children that are in the public school system. This is just horrendous.
It is, and I couldn't echo that anymore. And just to give our listeners a peek behind the curtain here. Yesterday, I completed, because it's just been on my mind for some time now, I completed a training and became a mental health first aid responder. Now, those of you that have never heard of that before, you're with me. I had never heard of it before either, but these sorts of opportunities are coming up now because we have so many people. I feel like we have so many people that are suffering from so many mental health challenges and mental health conditions now. And here's what has caused it. You hit the nail on the head, Pastor. You talking about we've taken God out of everything. When you take God out of everything, and you allow this rampant, do whatever you want to do whatever you feel that feels good to you, do whatever you feel like is the right thing to do for you at that point in time, without having some higher authority to whom that or to which you that you would give yourself to or report to. When you do that, there is no standard. There is no standard here. And so that is something that I think that we are seeing now is the benefits, what Jeremiah Wright said, the chickens have come home to roost. Well, the chickens have come home to roost now for sure, is when we have taken God and we have taken parents and the authority of parents out of children's lives. This is what we get. We get this violence, and it's not going to stop there. It's going to be going on not only in schools, but it's going to spill out into the public as well. It's going to spill out into homes. We're going to see kids taking their own lives. They're going to be taking others' lives, maybe even taking their parents' lives. I mean, this is the result of a godless society. And you're exactly right. Parents, you have got to start doing what's best for your children. If that is homeschooling or if that's private schooling, whatever, you need to start doing what's best for your children.
Absolutely. We have even doctors now. I was told, and I don't have this to where I can prove it by the source, but I've been told there are hundreds of doctors being trained, brainwashed in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania now, to buy into this bodily mutilation. And this is exactly what it is, mutilation, that you're trying to introduce to a child this gender fluidity, that whatever the child thinks or is told to think or schooled to think in their mind, the body needs to follow and then match it. Well, problem is you're teaching the children that they can change that every day. How can you reverse that? The point is you're creating absolute chaos. Mm-hmm. When people are lost, when people are left to their own devices, there's no boundaries for their depravity.
No standard.
Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 32 tell us that. So people get on me because I say the word stupid, but yes, sin will make you stupid, and I will not apologize for it.
True.
We've got candidates that are running for school board that we're going to be in interviewing. I'm going to be endorsing. I hope we're going to be endorsing together as a podcast. But the point I'm saying, if you're running for school board and you're not talking about this, then you need to sit down and shut up. Because we do not need you on the board if you're not going to stand for our children. And I mean stand for our children. I mean stand against the evil of the day, stand against the garbage of the mentality. We're creating this. We're creating seed beds for mental health. And then they want to turn around and call us the extremists. Right. Why? Because I believe that a child is precious from God. I believe that a child is that children are a heritage of the Lord. No, if that's an extremist, then brother, you meet me on the battlefield. I'll show you something extreme. But the point is, you need to be clobbered. You need to be bulldozed if this is where you're going in mutilating a child, not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. Mm-hmm. You need to be stopped in your tracks. And I call on our legislatures. You need to be making laws preventing this garbage from going in our public system. Quit taking a back seat. Quit playing it safe. And stand. Stand for God, stand for our country, and stand for our children. And if you're not going to stand, sit down and shut up.
That's exactly right. I mean, there comes a point in time where when God demonstrates, when he shows you something, it is incumbent upon you to do something. He has shown you something for a reason. So if he has revealed this to you, especially those of you running for school boards, those of you who are running schools, superintendents, principals, teachers in your classrooms, if God is showing you this and you sit on it and don't do anything about it, trust me when I say that when we stand before God, you will give an account for not saying what he told you to say and for not taking the stand that he told you to take. He has shown you this for a reason, for you to do something about it. We are doing everything we can do here in this podcast. We are going out. We are showing people what's going on. We are saying something about it, and we are taking a public stand. And yes, we're taking hits. Pastor more than me right now because he's been Facebook jail for saying stuff. But, you know, he's taking the hits. We are willing to go out and take the hits because it is the right thing to do. Pastor, I refuse to stand before God and have blood dripping from my hands and him look at me and say, you knew the truth and you refused to say it. You stayed quiet because you wanted to get some sort of political benefit or some sort of personal benefit. So you stayed quiet. I'm not going to stand before God and allow that to happen. I want him to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. I want to hear those words. And so I will take all the hits that come my way in this life, because in the next life, that's where I want my crown of righteousness so that I can cast a big, huge crown at the Lord's feet.
Listen, I'm not going to stand before the Lord and be guilty in this.
Amen.
And I am not going to stand in front of my children and let them think that I didn't take a stand. You can hurt us all you want to. Physically, you can kill us. Spiritually, you cannot touch us. Let me take you back to Matthew chapter 16 and verse 18. When we hear the verse, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The setting is Caesarea Philippi. Jesus took his disciples right at the very mouth of the Jordan River, where it begins to flow south, coming from the frozen ice waters that are melting off Mount Hermon. The setting is the pagan worship place of where babies would be sacrificed, and even more pagan worship in Caesarea Philippi. Where Jesus took his disciples, you can actually still see that today in Israel, in Caesarea Philippi. You can see the burnt smoke on the rock where the very sacrifices of young children would have been taken place to other pagan gods, but all as well to Moloch.
Yep.
Jesus Christ stood there, and he said, upon this rock, speaking of himself, I will build my church. The Greek word used there is ecclesia. It's a governmental term. It's a church term. It's an assembly term. I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. He was simply saying that I will build my church, my people, my public square, my church will invade. It will be an invading force into the world, and I will cause the gates of hell never to prevail against it. You can do whatever you want to with me, but come hell or high water, you will never. You will have to take my children. You will have to peel my dead, cold fingers from their brow to take them from me. And you will never do it, Governor Newsom. You will never trickle that law across this land. You will never, ever get my children. This is the hotbed that you have created, in which demons feel comfortable in torturing and taunting and terrorizing our children. This is the garbage. When you give out sin in the public realm, you do nothing but invite devils and demons to create their playground, and this is what we're having, and our children are suffering. We have a leftist group all over this country that has nothing in their mind but the destruction of our children. And by God, I'm not going to stand for it. And so come hell or high water, you come after us. Come on. We're the ones with all the things you hate and you want to ban. So
That's right.
I don't suggest it. But I'll tell you something else we've got, and that is the power of God. We will pray you down just like David did. If we see Goliath coming, we'll pick up 5 smooth stones and just tower you. I'm sick and tired of it. This goes beyond nationalism. This goes beyond patriotism. This is about our children, and we will not stand for it.
Let me just also speak to the educational scenarios that is causing this violence in schools, by the way, because I've seen it. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt to prove it. These school systems are doing everything in their power not to suspend children because when they have to report to the state their number of suspensions, it looks bad on them when they have to suspend students. So they try not to suspend students at all. As a matter of fact, some school districts have completely banned suspensions. 100%, that you can't suspend children no matter what they do. You can't suspend them. Then there are some school systems who have adopted a critical race theory perspective, that if you come from an oppressed race or an oppressed ethnicity, then we need to give you as many opportunities as possible. No matter what you do, nothing's going to happen to you. You're going to be just fine. We're just going to pat you on the head and say, now stop doing that, and move you along. Or it may be even in some extreme cases, they might even say, it's okay because you've come from an oppressed background and we need to be respectful of that and responsive to that. So they deserved it. So folks, you don't believe that those things actually happen, but they do. There are some of these school districts that at central offices, they actually sit back and they get together and they say, you know what, we need to provide much more flexibility for our Black and brown students. So essentially what they are saying is Black and brown students don't know how to act. They can't learn. So we have to dumb down the process and we have to let them do whatever they want to do and not hold them account to anything. This is essentially what they are saying. It is the bigotry. It is soft bigotry, which is actually not soft at all. But this is what they're doing. They're saying that these kids can't function in a normal school setting. So we've got to dumb down this process. Yep. If you're willing to stand back and allow them to keep saying that, then do nothing and let them continue to say that. For me, those kids can act just like any other kids. I don't care what skin color they are. Kids can behave. They can be taught and they can learn. And I find it very offensive when they say, well, we've got to give flexibility to our Black and brown kids. We're not going to hold them to the same standards as white kids. I get very offended by that, by them calling those kids dumb, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're calling those kids dumb. And because of that, we're seeing what children are going to do. When you leave children, you leave humans to their own devices without any kind of guidance or any kind of moral or character education, then you're going to see these kids that are threatening to violence against their peers and against their schools. And that's what we're seeing. That's why we're seeing school shootings. That's why we're seeing these things, is because the moral high ground has been ceded completely to this critical race theory, racialized, secular humanist background. And folks, it is all in our schools. It is pervasive.
Yes. We've got to come to a close. We've got more interviews to do. We're going to be back. We just noticed earlier that we're actually wearing the same outfit. We didn't plan that. We are like, 3.5 hours away. We have the same shirt on. So, yeah. Hey, we're going to
great minds.
Yeah, we've got the same tailor. Yeah, right. But anyway, listen, folks, stand with us. We're standing for you. The profile of this podcast is being raised because you are sharing it and because you are sending it to your friends and neighbors. Thank God for that.
Amen.
They are trying to literally shadow ban us. We have gone from 20,000 impressions, 3,000 impressions. It's just ridiculous. 14 views on YouTube last week. So they're doing their best. We are probably heading over to Truth Social. and maybe even our own website. I don't know. We're going to do everything we can to get this message out, but we have got to do that. We've got to continue standing. There is no other place to go.
Amen.
This is the United States of America, and we either live or die by liberty. We cannot, and I refuse to live in the bondage that they want to slice us into. And so, Dr. Street, carry us out.
Folks, we've got to have you to send this out to as many people as you can. Send it to everybody in your contact list, everybody in your friends list. Send it to them, because it is your views that really that gets this word out. And you know this word needs to go out. This is not just a political word. It's the word of God that we are sending out to everybody to call a nation back to its knees, to call God's people to turn from their wicked ways. And God will heal our land when we do that, and he hears us. Folks, join with us. Send this out to everybody you know. I'm Dr. Nathan Street.
I'm Pastor Alan Mashburn. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Share this and keep on keeping on. God bless you.